Hey, how exciting is this? Another short episode of Let's Water the Front Yard. It's a short talk at my trailer park. Now turning this thing around and getting all my fingers straight and remembering which way to point the camera and don't spray the camera itself. Okay, so this is going to be like a tech marvel here. I got to change hands already. My left hand is really kind of dumb. I'm a righty, and when I ask my left hand to do some things, it just goes, well, I don't know. So anyhow, hey, welcome, good to see you in. Come on in, have a beer. This is a short talk in the trailer park with an old man, and well, we know who that would be. The guy that is the narrator of all this, that hidden voice that just appears as you're observing water on grass. So anyway, I missed watering the yard for several days because, well, I was out of town. Went up to Albuquerque and got back yesterday afternoon and basically goofed off once that happened. I started hiding from the heat again. Albuquerque was about almost like 10 degrees cooler. I was surprised. And I think they had a high of 92 one day, and that same day it was like 102 down here. So anyway, I just didn't realize that 230 miles makes that much difference, but I think we're about 3,600 feet, and I think Albuquerque by and large is about a mile or higher, and that altitude definitely does make a difference. Anyhow, who cares about that? It's Sunday morning, went down and had a good old breakfast at the pit stop, and visited a little bit with Roseanne, the waitress lady, and a guy named Mike that I used to work for years ago. Down, that was a company that no longer exists. And I just thought I'd kind of chit-chat with you guys about some of the ideas that's been kind of bouncing around in my head. And, if you don't care, you don't care. What am I going to do? So that's you always have the option. You can turn the channel. And if this is not something you care to hear, well then don't hear it. Fine with me. I was thinking in terms of this video series right here and how I've consistently at least tried, I mean probably we'll call it with mixed results, I've tried to have the idea that there is good news. I mean really, in the midst of all this chaos, mayhem, corruption, disgusting perversion, and whatnot that passes for reality these days, I got to thinking that the good news that apparently the church has primarily, I'd say, more than forgotten, that it isn't really forgotten so much. Okay, I don't want to waste a bunch of water. We are in a desert after all. And now the grass can grow for another day. Yay, hooray for that. So I'll turn the camera around when I go over and sit down. Oh boy. Yay, I got the hose turned off. Okay, so we'll call that a success. Let me see if I can invert here. Hey, there I am. How about that? I bet you knew I looked like that, didn't you? The idea for the day is I was sitting there kind of perusing my mind again. It's like looking this same old video feed over and over again. It's like the same stuff keeps cropping up in my mind over and over. And it's kind of like partly imagination, partly it's like a default setting. Or if you're old enough to remember what a skip was on a record, if you don't know what a skip is, then forget it. But there used to be a deal with, I guess it was the stylus itself, the diamond stylus. It would like cross-threading. And instead of following the little tiny groove around and around to play the soundtrack, it would veer off and jump back into the old track again. So you kept hearing the same thing over and over again. Every time the record came around, it kept jumping. Well, that was a scratched record, which was another way of saying a piece of junk, so you throw it away. But anyhow, thinking in terms of this good news, I got into a political discussion up in Albuquerque. I thought it was so weird. My family, members thereof, are significantly further to the left than I am politically, and I don't go up there to start arguments with them or have fights. But the thing is that it just seemed somehow so upside down to me. There I was, essentially asserting the same message that the hippies were in 1968, that the establishment, the man, in this case the CIA and the administration together combined, are essentially a criminal organization. They've gone so far off the rails that they don't even qualify as a lawful government. They were never even legally elected. But at any rate, she didn't buy that. That essentially, I think the CIA is a bunch of real bungholes. They're tyrants at heart. They are megalomaniacs, and there's a deep perversion involved, which says that you can bomb people into non-existence for their own good. But at any rate, to summarize stuff before I got to go in, get dressed, take a shower, and all that stuff, and head on down to church. And I will go today. I've decided, go ahead and have a good attitude. May as well. Don't cost nothing. But in other words, the good news that the church says she's all about is couched inside of a much clearer and honestly heart-true reality, and it's rooted to our conscience as well. That what's going to happen is God Almighty shall return to his own world, which he made and visited in person, by the way. And when he comes, he will be violently angry. In a terrifying sort of fury that really, as mortals, as human beings, would be simply intolerable for us to, it would exceed our limits to be able to tolerate it. Something like holy outrage, holy indignation, fury, that's the reality. And for each of us as human beings, we must face that. That is going to happen. Now, whether we think of it as the death of a nation or the death of an individual, the short version is everything's coming up for review, and he remembers everything perfectly. There is zero chance, and less than zero chance, that you as a human being, or me as a human being, or any human being ever, with one shocking exception, that any human being ever could, out of our own, gusto and musto, form up and reform as a person that God could embrace and say, now you qualify to live because you've lived a good life. You've done everything I said. That human being doesn't exist. Oh, yes, he does. There's one of him. One faithful believer, Jesus of Nazareth. But anyway, the good news of him coming, the incarnation story and, Christmas story and everything, going all the way through his whole life and his death and resurrection, and then he ascends on high where he sits at the right hand of the Father Almighty, taking our crummy, sawed-off prayers, kind of buffing them up a little bit, and presenting them to the Father. The good news is rooted directly in and upon the bad news. And I think that's part of what's going on in this political thing, is that the church has been mum on this. You want to do that kind of crap to little kids, this exploitation, they're buying and selling children. Who are they? Go figure it out. Again, the CIA is probably involved. But the disgusting level of outrage that even humans can feel when looking at, say, pedophiles and these people who are abusing children and trying to so badly confuse them that they would surgically deform themselves to fulfill this horrid ideology. It's a disgusting cult. At any rate, the outrage that we could feel, magnify that by what? Infinity? I mean, what does that even mean? An outraged, fiery, violently angry Holy One, here on site, in person. That's what's coming. That's the reality. And the church has forgotten that. And as a result, the good news doesn't sound so awfully good, does it? He's the problem. He's our enemy, if you want to think about it. The enemy of all mortals, because all mortals have sinned. And the issue is, only one was born sinless and stayed that way and is today and never shall be. the Son of Man, the Son of God, Jesus Christ the righteous. Our brag is about him, but he fulfills both sides. He is that angry one coming. It's heart medicine. It's life. So go teach the good news to yourself, and remember that judgment does belong. These crooked a-holes ain't going to get away with this forever. God will not be mocked. Full stop. So have a good day. Go out, find a church, sing praises to Jesus, because dang it, he's worth it. And worth a lot more than that. Bye-bye.